Hello and welcome back to my first video in almost 5 months. Now this video is a little bit more of a personal update. This is aimed more at my copiers, just to kind of let people know exactly what's been going on with me, why there's not been any content on this channel, and maybe just to kind of explain exactly what's been going on with the portfolio over that period of time. Now, if you are just looking for like stock tips or whatever, just skip this video for now. This is not for you. This is really, like I say, it's just for copiers to kind of update people so that people can kind of understand exactly what's been happening and why they've seen things and not necessarily heard much of an update from me. So I'm going to go back to March. Now, before I kind of go into this a little bit, something very personal happened to me that can be quite easily misconstrued on how it's kind of impacted. And what I want to say before I say anything next is that this did not impact me closing my positions. This thing that I'm about to say wasn't the reason that I closed those positions in the first place. Okay, so in March, my father died. I was organising his funeral and dealing with like everything that was kind of going on there. And at that time, I was still making videos, I was still making content, and obviously the portfolio was struggling. We were having that major crash, and my family lives down in Somerset, and at the time I was living up in Edinburgh. So I was, like I say, trying to remotely organise the funeral, etc. Travelled down to Somerset for the funeral, and on the way back there, that's kind of like, obviously that sort of situation meant that my content releases that particular week, there was none. So there wasn't really any updates from me to kind of let you know exactly what I was seeing in the market. And while the day that I was kind of driving back from the funeral, so from Somerset all the way up to Scotland, I looked at the market, and for me, what I was seeing was my overall kind of strategy for when I close positions is when it starts to trend down. And I basically just, when the market was closed, I saw where the post market was, the pre-market was, and what was happening in the UK markets, and I looked at my wife and I was like, I'm going to have to close. I'm going to have to shut down everything. And it was really kind of a tough moment for me to make that decision. But I felt like, do you know what, this needs to be done. This is exactly what I always tell people that they should do. And if you're able to, I don't know if it's still available, but there is a conversation that I've had with Andrew Haddon back in October last year, which I believe was on the Facebook group. So if you've got access to that, you want to check that out. And it was basically the market at that time was kind of having a bit of a dip, and I was like, no, I only close and I only short when we go into a bear market. And he was saying, but we are in a bear market. This is a technical definition. And I was like, that's fine, but my definition of a bear market, what I consider it, is when we have a consecutive lower low, lower high. You know, when you kind of like you get a drop, you get a recovery, you get a drop, you get a lower recovery, and when you kind of have that repeat pattern, that's when you're seeing a downwards trend, and that's when things can get really, really bad. So that was why I closed at that particular time. Now, because of the fact that I've had these conversations with people very publicly, because obviously I do this YouTube channel and I've said about this kind of strategy before, although I hadn't necessarily been talking about it, posting the previous days, I really didn't think that it was going to come as such a big shock to everybody. And obviously, as many of you know, it really did come as a really big shock for a lot of people. And I've got accused of panic selling, accused of trying to time the market. Now, in a pure technical definition of the term timing the market, you could absolutely say that is what I'm trying to do. However, if you go back to sort of February, March time last year, that's exactly what I did. Like, I step out of the market when I see a bear market, and then I step back in again when I feel like that's over. So when people reacted the way they did, it started to make me kind of second guess myself a little bit. And then when eToro contacted me and basically downgraded me for changing my strategy, is what they said, it made me kind of doubt what I'd done, and kind of think maybe I was being emotional, maybe I hadn't kind of separated myself from the situation. And then when the market started to recover a bit, it really kind of stopped me kind of thinking clearly, because all these people were screaming at me saying, "You're wrong, you're doing this wrong, you shouldn't be doing this, you're a bad person." And from there, that's kind of like made me then kind of buy back in again, because I'm like, clearly this is me. Clearly, you know, from what I'm going through at the moment, it's affected me without me kind of realizing it. So, you know, I need to get back to normal. And then obviously the market dipped again, because, you know, whenever you try and time the market over a short period of time like that, that's always what's going to happen. And so obviously, again, I was like, clearly I wasn't being stupid. Clearly I was just following my strategy, and actually I shouldn't have bought back in again. So obviously I closed again, taking even more of a hit. From there, obviously, you've seen me kind of like slowly kind of getting back into the market, judging the right kind of stocks on what I feel is best placed. The exception to that, and it's absolutely kicking me at the moment, is that Ocado position. Now, obviously, I strongly believe in Ocado as a company. I don't believe that the share price really kind of deserves to fall much further, especially considering the kind of global situation with all the other tech companies and everything at the moment. The fact that everything else is recovering while it's still dropping has been the kind of main reason why the rest of my account seems to have, my overall account is still in a loss, despite the fact that most of the other stuff has gone up. You know, obviously Games Workshop and Nvidia being the two kind of main drivers for the past few months. And from there, if I'm being completely honest, I probably shouldn't have bought Ocado. Sticking to my strategy, Ocado was probably a bad decision within that. I still believe in a company. I still think that they are going to recover from here. So, kind of going against my own advice in many respects by holding this position now. However, that being said, as I have also slimmed that position down quite considerably, so it is actually quite a minor position within our portfolio now. So although, like I say, I don't feel like it's really sticking to my strategy, it is now a relatively small part of the portfolio. So I'm hoping that if it does continue to decline, just holding on to it for now shouldn't be a major issue until it eventually recovers, because we know it will. Now, obviously, looking at the way the portfolio of stocks that I held back in February and March have recovered, if I had held on to all of those positions and I hadn't closed in the first place and I just left them, the portfolio would be in a very different position. So you could absolutely be telling me right now, this is proof that you were wrong, you should never have closed. And in hindsight, you are absolutely right. If I was able to see into the future and to know that this would definitely happen, then absolutely I would have held on to those positions. However, knowing what I know about the market and understanding the way that the patterns go, the way that people react, if that situation were to happen again, I would still close. Because I do still strongly believe that we were at a very big risk of a very big fall. The issue that I have with the market at the moment hasn't really kind of changed. We still have this very kind of overweight valuation on companies that has kind of spread throughout everything. This is really kind of, this can be really be seen on a lot of the other companies that really don't deserve it. Companies like Ford and GM are prime examples of this. So when I'm looking at these companies and I'm seeing their valuations and I'm seeing kind of how things are going, it's very clear to me that the real kind of push for this for me seems to be retail buyers. It seems to be us. Everyone seems to, like, all this extra money being pushed into the markets is obviously pushing the prices up of everything, because, you know, there's more people that want to buy and hold this stuff, which is pushing the prices up, which is absolutely fine, and which could completely mean the new normal. We could be sitting at this level in 20, 30 years as well. That this could be the new normal, and, you know, great. But at the same time, this could also cause a huge crash. And we are really talking about something similar to the dot-com boom. Because when you look at the dot-com boom, you had a similar situation. You had, you know, the rise of the internet, and people who had never been involved in the stock market at all were flooding in and trying to kind of go, look, you know, the internet is going to be amazing. I need to buy shares in this company. And that kind of helped to kind of create this huge boost until obviously it stopped and it started to fall, and that's when people then started panicking and pulling all their money out again. And that could quite easily happen here. So we have to be really, really careful. Now, when you look at the dot-com boom, the bubble bursting for the dot-com, you will see that it didn't just go, you know, oh look, it's Tuesday and we're going to fall and, you know, we're going to drop 90%. It happened over the space of a year. You know, there was this like gradual kind of fall that just kind of got bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller. So when that kind of thing happens, there is plenty of warning, there's plenty of time to get out. And even when you go back to the COVID kind of crash last year, there was plenty of warning, and there was plenty of activity in the markets that kind of said to you, look, this is dropping, get out. So in hindsight, yes, if I knew what was going to happen, I wouldn't have got out. However, my advice, if you see this situation, is still to get out. Because at the end of the day, if you get out, you can get back in at any time. If you stay in and everything drops, then you've lost. Yeah, you've got the opportunity cost of, oh, if I had my money in the market and it had gone up 10%, I'd be 10% richer. But I would rather risk losing out on a little bit of gain rather than risk losing a lot more money. So that's where I am. That's where I'm at. That's what's kind of been going on with me. On top of that, I have also moved down to the south of England again, well, the southeast of England. So I had a huge house move. I'm still kind of studying. I've done the first exam. I'm now on exam number 2 for the exam that I need to do for eToro. Once I've done those exams, once I complete the second one and I pass that'll be me unblocked on eToro. So if there's anyone that wanted to kind of recopy me or add more funds or whatever, that will soon be possible. I'm aiming for next month to do that. Now that I'm in my new house and I'm all settled and I'm kind of working my way through the exam, I'm planning to make more content again for YouTube, for my own website, and just kind of getting back in touch with everybody again. So there should be more content coming back now. I'm going to try and keep you guys all updated a lot better than we did previously. I'm very sorry for the lack of content. Like I say, that kind of second guessing myself, really kind of doubting what was kind of going on. Not necessarily that was a doubt on my ability on like what I think of the market, but more I was doubtful on whether I'd let my emotions kind of take control of what I was doing. And I can absolutely say with 100% certainty that my emotions did not impact that decision. So, and I can say that now that it's, 5 months later, 5 months later, and I know 100% that, my emotions did not impact that decision. So we're all good. We're all good. The market, I do believe, is starting to recover again now. So I'm hoping that the portfolio should start to move into green. And there we go. So look forward to more content if you're still watching. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.